Well, a very good evening to all of you who are new to the site. Welcome once again here to the Phase A conferences. Today we are going to start the agenda. We have already finished the agenda of the 50 conferences, but this is a rotating cycle. So today we start from number 1. Today we are going to see what is self-knowledge and its objectives. So everybody welcome. For the new colleagues, as always, inviting you here to lecture number 1. Today we see the first one, so there is no need to enter this lecture. Well, and also those who want to belong to the WhatsApp group, here they can enter the group of blanks and you can be part of this group if you want to, or the Telegram group is also here at the bottom is the link. Well, here already started to enter some colleagues. It is assembling. And we also found Felipe, who is joining us today. And those who do not appear here in the comments are also welcome. Well, don't forget, tomorrow we have a Phase B conference at 7 o'clock in the evening, and next Sunday we are going to give a Christmas conference. We are going to give a Christmas conference at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So we are going to talk about, well, in general, everything which is the real Christmas, the public celebration. Public celebration that takes place worldwide, because this has become, it is a celebration of drunks, of a debauched party. Lost all that is the focus of this celebration, so beautiful and so important, that reminds us what is the inner work in a very, very, very deep way. Well, we say hello. Alba has just entered. Welcome. And the one who has just entered, Pablo, also welcome. Well, we are going to start tonight's conference, a conference that we are going to focus on the new cycle of conferences that we always repeat the agenda. It is interesting to turn it over beforehand. We start from the first and improve the focus a little bit. Well, then let's see what is self-knowledge and objectives, and why we have to differentiate it from all the amount of knowledge that there is on the planet. Religious, mystical, esoteric, philosophical, psychological. All that is theosophy, spiritualism. Well, all this amount of knowledge that is on the planet, all this amount of knowledge, and they all talk about very nice things and about God, and well, then self-knowledge, what it teaches us is precisely as its name says. Precisely as its name says, to know ourselves. In life, people ask themselves questions. No one can answer them. They remain there. What was I born for? To be born, to grow up, to work like a mule, to earn money, to study, to die, and so on. And that's it. What's after death? Death. Who is God? Religions talk about any number of things. Atheists say that God does not exist. Concepts and more concepts is what there is in the world. No one, absolutely no one, guarantees us. No one, absolutely no one guarantees us anything. No one. We have a lot of information in our heads, but no one has taught us to investigate, to corroborate, to see directly whether this amount of information is real or not. is real or not. Until we get here to the knowledge and they teach us some techniques that we are going to see now. We are going to talk a little bit, not too much, because this is a general lecture, general conference. Then we are going to start getting to know each other. People are asked if they know each other, and all of them, some or most of them say yes. Then they tell countries, they tell dates, they tell universities, they tell family. Do you think that is getting to know yourself? Actually, getting to know oneself implies work. You have to make an effort. And let's get to know ourselves in a raw way. Real and true way. And to do that, to know ourselves, we need to begin to see ourselves rawly as we are. We are going to know two things, two aspects. The first one we are going to start to see is everything that goes on in my psychology. Mind, emotion, instinct, sex, everything. Because we don't know. Nothing. We believe that we are a physical body. People accept it. Accept it because they can see it. They can touch it. But psychology is not so easy. You can't touch it. You can't feel it. People think they understand things about psychology, but they don't understand it. If the person starts to observe his inner world, he begins to know himself. Why do I have a bad temper? Why do I have lust? Why do I have fear? Why do I have hatred? Why do I have resentment? He begins to know himself. You start to realize that you are not a person. Now everybody talks about wanting to know planets, solar systems, galaxies. They want to know the universe. But none of that is going to happen until he starts to know himself. Because an element that is asleep, that has its consciousness asleep, cannot in no way know higher things of the universe. So if the person wants to know himself, wants to know God, his own self, then he must begin. First to know the ego, the eyes, the defects, psychological, what is in your mind, in your emotion, or in your instinct, in your sex. And once you know that, and kill that. And once you know that and kill that, then you will begin to know God. You will begin to liberate the higher parts of the self. Then people don't have time to know the inner world. They don't give it the importance that is required. And you need to consciously do that work. Now, we are really constituted by a physical body. We have a psyche, a soul we could call it, an energy, a mind, and we have a consciousness. And we have a consciousness. This is the higher part, this is the light, the spiritual part. The physical body, as I said, we can see it. The psychological part is what we are going to know. And we are also going to know the consciousness, the spirit. We have to differentiate these three things that are not the same. So the physical body is a machine. It fulfills a function. It is an energy transformer. The psychology, the soul, the mind is therefore the whole ego. All the consciousness that is trapped in the eyes. This psychology originates all the movements, all the actions that we do in the physical world. In the physical world, this psychology is internal. Then all the millions of forms of being, we have to observe them. When you are hungry, when you are thirsty, when you are afraid, when you have hatred, when you have resentment, when you have shyness, when you have depression, when you have sadness, melancholy, When all the arrogance, anger, self-sufficiency, the self-pity, why he cries, why he suffers, why he is sad, all that is the ego. Then when we get to know that ego and begin to work to eliminate it, then it will emerge. Then consciousness will emerge. Consciousness will emerge. All people have a 3% of free consciousness. It is a small spark of superior intelligence, but it is asleep. So we have to awaken that 3%, and that 3% is the one that will be in charge of giving us all the knowledge. Giving us all the knowledge. That 3% is the superior part, the real, the true, the eternal, the immortal, that each person has inside. Spark that will never die. It is an eternal spark. This spark does not belong to time. So to start doing this work, you have to know the 4 pillars of wisdom. And this knowledge is highly revolutionary. It is based on practice. Here the reference point is not to put theories in people's heads. The basis of knowledge is science. Science is experimentation. Science teaches us the procedures to investigate, to see directly, not to put more information in the head. So this word knowledge comes from to know. We invite people to know. When the person is awakening, the consciousness begins to receive a lot of information from all of nature, from the universe, from the universe, from the universe, from the universe. From all of nature, from the universe, from plants, science, technology. Because the being is giving it all that and shows him why this humanoid race is degenerated. Humanoid race is degenerated. Why everybody is asleep in their religions, their work, their study, their money, their social class in their region, in their country. In other words, the person will begin to know that he or she is part of a society of sleeping people, unconscious people, people who think they are awake, but the reality is that they works in a dream, lives in a dream, and we don't see it, we don't know it. So we have to start working with the tools that knowledge gives us to begin to discover all that. Here we do not invite people to believe. Belief is a fantasy. As I said at the beginning, nobody guarantees us that everything we learned will come true. So if the person begins to practice, begins to experience, begins to receive his own knowledge, and that knowledge is not taken from a book, from a school, from a university, from the internet, but from himself. From the internet, but he took it from himself. He knows the dimensions of nature. He knows everything that has to do with the wisdom of being. Different plans. Well, practices such as concentration, astral unfolding, retrospection are taught here. You are also going to learn how to negotiate karma, to make a deep meditation. You are going to do business with the lords of the law. You are going to cancel that karma. You are also going to learn the practice of supralaw. Well, we are going to see it. There are lectures that are directly focused on the psychological part. You will understand aspects of psychology, the inner talk, the psychological song. You are going to understand or see aspects of depression, sadness, of the dark forces that are in the psychology of all of us. There are lectures focused on that. There are also conferences where we are going to talk about the sexual part, the different types of sexology, and also we are going to teach the importance of helping humanity by giving them this knowledge for free. But well, this approach is what is going to make a person start to get out of this whole dark, decadent, devolving society that we are all in. And the objective is to belong to the superior races of the universe. Extraterrestrial races, that is very high races spiritually, with super intelligence and with super technology. That here we are not going to fight to continue in such a depraved and degenerate race. Depraved and degenerate race like this one, where this planet is full of drugs, alcohol, wars, prostitution, homosexuality, depravity, threats, violence on all sides. Threats, violence on all sides. Already, the aspiration is to belong to a superior race and look to see if someone wants to get out of this decadent race. Out of this decadent race and raise the level of intelligence to be accepted in this kind of very high societies. Well, that's the science. Let's look at the art. There are 4 pillars. Art teaches us to create. And the only way to create is through sex. What are you? You are a sperm that developed. You are all sexual energy. Who is going to deny that? It was created. A physical body is having sex. Sex has very high possibilities of creation. Here we teach a practice called supersexuality, that as well as sex drawing the sexual energy out of the body, a single sperm, put us on the table of existence. This super energy that nobody knows about and that everybody uses it for fun is the one that will allow us to create ourselves, to regenerate this physical body, to pass it from an involutive lunar state to a solar state, then the vital body as well. Then we are going to create the astral body with that same energy, mental body, and the causal body. And in this way we go up to very high levels of power and psychological and physical strength. Very high. So it is necessary that this work is done between a male and a female. And a woman. Polarities here now, which is that 40 types of total depolarization of the male and female gender. And then now we have to recognize the other degenerative states of sex, transsexuals, lesbians, gays, homosexuals, bisexuals, transvestites, drag queens, and all the degenerations that exist at this moment in the planet and that want recognition. The planet and who want recognition. There are only 2 poles in the universe. There are no more. Positive and negative. And the neutral, which is the one that joins those 2 poles. But all this intellectual sexual degeneration that we have today, that is a shame. So a male, a female sexual apparatus and a male sexual apparatus will unite, a stable couple, and each one is going to use that energy, channeling it inward and upward through the spine. And in this way it will be that superior creation. The practice is very simple. We are going to talk a little bit about the practice. We are not going to extend it too much because there is a lecture that talks specifically about this subject. But for you to have a general information, a supplication to the Father is made. We make a supplication to the Father and the Mother. Divine, very simple. You don't need complications. If you want to make the circle, well, no, the magic circle and the belining, you have to do it. It is necessary to clean the space and protect it. Then they will begin the caresses, the reflective kisses. All this that does not lust. This lust has to be eliminated through the that lust must be eliminated through the psychological death that, let's see. The intention is for the sexual apparatus to enter into the proper state of arousal, the woman having adequate lubrication, and the male to have an erection. Then comes the union, the penetration of the phallus inside the yoni, the male sexual apparatus, the lingam. And in this way there already begins the practice as such. The person begins to do his inhalation. This is a breathing process in 3 stages. The inhalation, imagine the entry of air into the lungs, then takes that air up to the sexual glands, brings it down. Then you do a retention. In this retention, imagine that a golden thread goes up or ascends through the center of the spine, up the center of the spine to between the eyebrows. And then when that energy is in the space between the eyebrows, exhale, mantralizing the Bokalix. Simply lengthen it and that's it. Concentrates all that energy there in that point. And this is how the creation takes place. 3 vowels are made, then come back again. Inhale. Imagine the entrance of the air into the lungs. The sexual glands descend. The second stage retains. Imagines the golden thread that goes up, ascends through the spine up to the space between the eyebrows, and then on the exhalation pronounce the A for. Finally the O. The same inhale. The air enters the lungs, goes down to the sexual glands, retains. Imagine the rise of the golden thread from the gonads or ovaries of the woman to between the eyebrows. And then as you exhale, pronounce the O. O done. That's 1 round. And there it goes again, IAO, IAO, the whole couple. Well, there the couple starts to magnetize. They change positions. If the excitement is lost, then the kisses, the caresses, the soft controlled caresses, soft controlled movements. The important thing is not to spill the sexual creative energy, the semen, not to take it out of the body. And that is how creations are made. So, if you believe that you are going to make creations through reading a mystic booklet or praying mystical or prayerful booklet, then you will continue believing that you are going to make creations. You are not making any type of creation, at least from the point of view, superior view. Soon a creation, a mental effigy or a concept, if they create it, but real creations are only made through the sexual creative energy. Very well, that is the second pillar, which is birth. Let's go to the third pillar. Let's talk about psychology. Inside of us live millions of people. An irritable person, then appears a hateful person. A liar. Cheerful, benevolent, then comes a scandalous, slanderous, talkative, gossipy person. Then comes a self or a person within oneself who now likes to watch movies, then a little while later she likes to scream. The next, the other time he likes to go to the whorehouse or to watch pornography. Another I decides to masturbate. Another psychological defect wants to go looking. Money. There are millions of words in the day. Imagination. Emotions, joy, pleasure, contempt, arrogance, negative feelings, positive feelings. That's crazy, the psychology of a person. You can't control it. You can't control the mind. You can't control the emotion. Then all that amount of energy is put inside the defects. The defects live on that energy. Energy. We are simply puppets that are controlled by invisible strings, by desires, by invisible strings, by desires. And we do not have individuality, we do not have someone responsible inside, but we simply let ourselves be carried away by the moments in which the body moves us. Moments in which the body moves us to do a certain action, to do a certain action. We are not the same. Never. What we are looking for here is to activate the conscience so that the consciousness becomes responsible of the mind, of the emotion, of the instinct, of the motor part, and of the sexual part. That consciousness is something superior. So for that we have to observe ourselves, to look into our inner world in a very serious way. And we will begin to see the rawness of all these things that move every day in every place. So here we teach a practice called death on the move. Then you are simply going to remain calm. Serene, calm. The mind in silence, the emotion calm, controlled. And everything that takes you out of that state, you ask the mother to eliminate that I. They are back again in a state of concentration. Concentration. If you are going to solve a problem, you can use your imagination in a conscious way. But the rest of the time, if you are not going to use your mind, let it be still, let it be silent. Unfortunately, the mind is crazy and likes to plan, to ideate, to fantasize, to remember, chatter. So all this has to be eliminated. They simply ask the mother, my mother killed me, the mother. Death is a part of the being, a part of the consciousness. That is in charge of this work. Then you have to ask that mother, imagine that this self is dying. If it is in the mind, they burn that mind, they destroy it. If it is in the emotion, they finish with that, they destroy, they explode that feeling. And it is a very simple practice. In this way, we are going to changing our way of being. We are liberating the consciousness, let's go. Releasing virtues, if they kill the fear, they release. Courage, if you kill rudeness, you become a little more decent. If you kill anger, you acquire patience, gentleness, tranquility. If you kill pride, you acquire a virtue called humility. Control of the mind. So this practice is fundamental. It is the most important practice of death. Well, I hope you start practicing it. I hope you start practicing it. Good. Mysticism, the fourth pillar. This teaches us the love of work. Inner work and outer work. Then we are going to begin to take a lot of love to death, to birth, to the work of the regeneration of the neurons, to the work of the regeneration of the neurons, the work of the regeneration of the cells. To what is the awakening of love, sexual potency is recovered. So we are going to charge a lot of love to this work gradually. And we are also going to begin to help humanity by giving all this knowledge free of charge to humanity. Here we do not charge anything. Here we do not ask for donations, tithes, alms. We don't ask for retribution. We don't raffle. In fact, we are not even interested in being liked. We don't care. We are not even interested in how you are called. If you want to put a pseudonym there, put it. And if you do not want to put it, and you want to put your real name, put it. It doesn't matter. So we give the knowledge to everybody without any interest. That's how we earn the merits of the heart in order to move forward, in order to pay our karmic debts. So, that is true love, serving others. We begin to vibrate with this force. And some changes are made and we start to feel a very nice psychology, an elevated psychology. Feel a very beautiful psychology, an elevated psychology. It begins to, and we vibrate with this force within ourselves, in our body, in our mind, in our emotion, in our emotions, in our mind, in our emotion, in our cells. Those are the higher forces of being that come into activity. Only through direct practice can we perfect all of this. All this. Every time we believe or feel the need to help more and more people, to take them out of the mud, to take them out of ignorance, to take them out of this society. Generated, cruel, arrogant, wretched, dark, in which we are all involved. So the works are very important. It is necessary to help humanity. In that way we can advance on this path. Well, these are the 4 pillars of wisdom. The objectives of knowledge. So the main objective, essential and fundamental objective, the objective of all is to reach the inner self-realization of the being, to do away with all ego. 99% of psychology is ego. Psychology is ego. 3% is consciousness. To put an end to the ego and to awaken all the consciousness that these defects have trapped, to free us, to unite us to God, to our being. That is done through a work, not a mysticism, self-righteous. This work is a revolutionary work. It is a work of war. It is a work of confrontation. It is a work of going to investigate through astral unfolding, for example. Past existences, to talk with the Master Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, with all the investigations that are necessary. We cannot continue to swallow all that we have been taught and swallow 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 and give as a fact a little bit of lies, because that makes it is an element that is mentally retarded. And unfortunately, we, in some sense, at some kind of level, we have that retardation. So we have to stop being in that state of imbalance and start focusing in a real, true way, and not continue in this terrible dream that humanity is in. Other objectives are given before reaching that self-realization, which is regeneration of the body and human regeneration in general. The creation of the bodies that we have already talked about. Also the knowledge of the laws, the knowledge of the dimensions will be given. Later and gradually the human soul will be incarnated, the Christ will develop. Human soul will be incarnated, the inner Christ will develop. Total individuality will be achieved. These are objectives that will occur along the way. But as I tell you, the real objective, real, deep, total, is self-realization. Well, that is the lecture. That's the lecture. 75 lectures are published, 50 of Phase A, 25 of Phase B, a little bit deeper, 25 of Phase B, a little bit deeper. All talking about psychology, talking about the parts of talking about how the structure of the universe from the point of view of understanding, because each one does his own research. And well, in each lecture we show the practices, the methods, the approaches, so that these comprehensions gradually take place. That is the lecture number 1. So for the newcomers, we hope you will join us in this course. For the next lecture, we are going to see what death is, what dies and what does not die. We are going to see how to investigate the past existence, how it is that what it feels like, that each one investigates when one has died, and how to be born again. We are going to talk about the judgments that are made in the court of divine justice. We will talk about the electropsychic design, because some are born rich, some poor, some miserable, others poor, others miserable, others sick, others black, others white, others ugly. To others black, to others white, to others ugly, others half pretty, others with problems. Well, let's talk about electropsychic design. We're going to talk about electropsychic design a little bit, and how this is organized by the different behaviors that a person has in his existence. A very interesting topic. And well, I hope you will join us and we can understand some little things about this topic. And as I say, the most important thing is to investigate, because we have to start to see crudely what real life is like. What real life is like. Not all these concepts that we have been taught through habits, family customs, religions, schools, colleges and universities. Schools, colleges and universities. let's start to wake up and see the rawness of life. Well, so much for lecture number 1. Let's take a look at some of the concerns around here. And we conclude. Well, we greet those who arrived last. Ayla, Perseus is also with us. Lorena, our colleague Fabricia, Monica, Angelica, Leonel, Carmen, Alexandra. Dora is also here. Alonso, Emilian, Gabby and Inner Knowledge, well, and Luz Marina. Well, I hope I haven't left anyone behind. Ready. Over here there is a concern that Gabi says, good evening. It is necessary to explain when one is giving a advertising with the 4 pillars, the process of suprasex, the details. Well, it depends on the advertisement, doesn't it? If it is a flyer or something, very well, it is that much information, people do not read it. Leave them with the concern. If in the flyers you leave the concern of what is supersexuality in a very general manner, and if you want to make a video, you can extend it a little bit more, although the best thing to do is to leave a few points of concern to encourage the person to attend the conference. And don't forget that on Sunday we have the Christmas conference. A conference that we approach it in a very, very realistic and very rebellious as it should be, to get out of the concepts of the baby Jesus, all tender and loving and all mystical, is what they have put in our heads, and see the rawness of what a warrior is created inside a person. The Red Christ Awakens, the Lord of the Great Revolution, and that was the one who was born on December 24th. But they put little things in it. They made that Christ all gay, all sentimental, all mystical pray. Mystic prayerfulness, a rudeness. And then they added alcohol to Christmas, and rumba, and reggaeton, and fornication. I don't know, better. I don't know, I mean, that's what they did. And undo it with a very wrong approach to the celebration of Christmas. But while there are guests for Sunday, I hope they don't scandalize us too much. Well, this way, says Lorena. Luis Carlos, when we talk about intimate self-realization of being, it must be understood that we must have developed the 7 bodies, that we must have our consciousness 100% awakened. We have to make 3 mountains, 3 stages. The first stage, the first mountain, is to create the solar bodies. The second stage of your solar bodies are going to become golden bodies. And the third stage, the golden bodies will become light bodies. Then he becomes a universal man. He has the knowledge of how the whole universe works. He understands perfectly all the laws, and that is why he integrates with the knowledge of the gods. There, he has 100% of consciousness. Awake well around here, Frank also says a greeting to Elisa when the Divine Mother is mentioned, to whom it refers also to love. Love, the Divine Mother, has several aspects. There is the Dead Mother, which is an aspect of the Divine Mother, to whom we say, my mother killed me. There is the Mother Kundalini, which is the sacred fire that rises up the spine, another aspect of love. There is Mother Natura, which is the knowledge of nature. And well, I don't remember the other parts of the Mother, but well, we are talking about Mother Death, which is an aspect of the Divine Mother. Well, that's it. That's it. Let's see, what else? Well, I think there are no more concerns. They are kind of quiet today. Well, here Fabricia tells us, good evening, happy start of the program, successes. There is something interesting that in each new agenda has matured a little bit. It has been seen. The vision of the conferences has matured a little bit because it always happens. And you see things a little bit clearer than in the previous agenda. Some little details because the conference has the same basis. So yes, we are maturing. Every time you finish an agenda, you are given a small advance in the vision of the new agenda. In the vision of the new agenda. Then you see the new agenda more clearly. It is very interesting. So it helps humanity a little bit better, and logically it helps one yourself. Well, here Frank says, the one who smokes marijuana gets sleepy. Because there are people who say that it is a plant, because marijuana is a plant, and that the conscience goes to sleep because consciousness is already asleep. All of humanity has a sleeping conscience. The housewife, the lawyer, the president, the policeman, the thief, the pothead, the prostitute, the religious, the priest, the pope, all have a sleeping conscience. So we have to wake up. And for that we have to work in death. And the first and second mountain, that is what we call the second and third chambers of the Samadhi Master. That of the chambers were, it is like saying here we are talking about phase A and phase B. It is an instruction to make people understand the work that needs to be done. Already when we talk about mountains, we are talking about advances, internal. This has nothing to do with the physical. This is internal. It is of the being. It is the true advancement. And each one is living it as he, she works. Well, this way it says inner knowledge. You are impacted. But why? Well, Lorena, Luis Carlos, do you think it is right that one encourages laziness to encourage laziness in people in front of a conference, a lecture, and tell them the things that one has already learned, or that you refer them to the lectures? I say this because it happens to me a lot when I talk to them about something. And I invite you to watch the lectures, but you want me to tell you about it already. For example, with the true meaning of Christmas. Christmas, you don't give people a few points, a few clues, and they already... I make some videos where I leave a concern, and the person then takes that concern, and then the person, because of that concern, I take him to see the lecture. And if you want to give the information to the person, well, there is no problem. Well, there is no problem because you give them the information. Or you invite people to the conferences. If they do not want to attend, well, they should not attend. And if they want to attend, well, to attend is fine. Alejandro, what level of consciousness did it take to arrive at this knowledge? No. It is required is that the person wants to know more. And she reaches the knowledge, learns the methods, the practices, and begins to work. And then the advancement is something private, something personal. Fabricio, knowledge never becomes routine. Because one discovers that each subject has a great depth. All newcomers are invited to participate in all the conferences, which are wonderful guidelines, to discover what we are doing here and how to achieve that goal. That's right, yes. Look, the motivation is always going to be The being gives you astral experiences, shows you things, takes away karmas. Takes away karmas. It shows thousands of things that encourage one, but the one who does not work death, it becomes monotonous. It becomes tiresome, becomes boring. He thinks he already knows everything. And then he says, I have already seen that lecture. I don't need to see it again. I already know it all. No, what he doesn't know is that he doesn't know. And he does not know anything because he has not practiced. But when one is dying, one sees depth to things and that revives one. They have a fear and they kill the fear and they say, oh, I used to be afraid of this and now I am not. That is a change, that is a motivation. When they could not touch them because they would melt and ejaculate, and now they have power over this apparatus, they say, oh, I was afraid of this before and now I am not. There are changes. In other words, here we can talk about serious things. But when they don't kill the lust, then they start at the last thing when they get bored. The first thing they say, that knowledge is of no use to me, it has not helped me. What good is it going to do if it doesn't work? Then they start to speak ill of knowledge. Not the one who is not useful is the one who is not useful. But knowledge has always been useful and will continue to be useful. But as one wants to cover everything with insubstantial lying words, then he takes out all those things. You have to work. And there you will see the results. Jose. Luis, I read in the comments one of these days that the science of energism, teach the real news. For me it does, and it teaches it very well. You have to look at the differences in knowledge. This fellow who walks behind a mask, I don't know. It seems to me that one should, and if you are going to talk about knowledge, speak clearly on the one hand, and on the other hand, when a person asks for money, speak clearly. When a person asks for money, I already prostitute knowledge. You see that this fellow was here in knowledge of himself. He is a friend. He is a friend. He esteemed him very much. He is a friend. Friendship is one thing, and knowledge is another thing. And it seems to me that one should respect knowledge and not prostitute it with money and not ask for money if I am going to spread knowledge around the world and that they consign to such an account. All that is a prostitution. That is to say, he made a business. And when one does business with what one does not know how to do, he must do business, for it rots him. And he can talk very pretty, but by your deeds you shall be known. So, well, I'm not going to criticize anyone, nor am I going to use proper names. But one should at least show one's face. Not go behind to see who is behind a mask, but at least show one's face. Who is behind a mask, who knows? Well, but there you can reflect and see the differences between one thing and another. Because this is not for fooling around with nonsense and games and clowning around and theater plays and nonsense like that. If you are going to do things, you have to do them well. And that's it. And if he's not going to do them well, let him do them the way he wants to. But things are the way they are. Things are what they are. And you have to be tall and respectful of knowledge without being a fanatic, right? Well, this way Alexander tells us we can really find our purpose in life. Yes, logically, the purpose of life is to seek self-realization, to seek to unite the self. But it's one thing to believe that you have Christ in your heart, which is a mystical sentimentalism, and they put it to jump and sing, and to take the tithe from him. And it is quite another thing to go and talk to the being, to go and talk to the Master Jesus, to have a conscious astral experience. So here we invite people to that, to be conscious. Well, another thing, in this knowledge there are no leaders. Here each one is a leader of himself. Here we don't follow anybody. We don't want to be followed either. simply an element that is struggling to stop being a worm. I am working on the work of being. I've been working on it for some years, but that does not make me superior to anyone. Neither the one who came to this conference today, nor the one who has been here for a month, nor the one who has been here for a year or 2 years. I'm still a worm that is trying or struggling to become conscious and self-realize myself. So there are no such distances here. Here we are all companions, we are all welcome. Whoever wants to stay, stays, and whoever wants to go, goes, and if you want to come back, and that's it. And that's it. Here the important thing is that each one understands that he must do his work, that this is something very personal, very private, and that the only one we are accountable to is the being. So we must so that we begin to differentiate one thing from another. Yes? Okay? This way, Hector. Hello, Luis. Greetings to all. Excuse me, Luis. Can you inform us about the schedules of the blanks? Well, I have about 15 fogeos during the week, but some of them are public and others are not. But there are some that are public and others are not. Why are they not public? Not because I don't want them to be, but because the person who is doing the scrimmage doesn't want to. So we have to respect their privacy. That's why not all of them are public. There are some public ones, for example, on Sunday, after the 9 o'clock practice. John is training. That one is public. Let's see. Which other one is public? No, most of them are not public. Let's see. Javier said Javier's, but he hasn't started to practice. Then, as soon as they start to be trained, we will make it public. And the rest, well, the ones who are starting out invite a few, just a few, but then that decision is not mine. For me, I leave all the fogos open, but then it's not up to me. Well, ready? Well, over here, there is another one ready over here. Alejandro says, is it valid for a group of knowledge partners to ask for cooperation to publish? To publicize knowledge in social networks? No, not publicly. Here, for example, there are colleagues who, several instructors, I'm talking about instructors, say, well, let's advertise. I put this, the other one puts this, and they advertise. But that's what they do, putting little ads and things like that. Most of the money that comes in is not for knowledge, but to spend it there on things, other kinds of things. So, everyone must do their own things. There are colleagues who do give some money and focus on publicity, but they are not asking for it. Advertising, but they are not asking for it. Be careful with that. No money is being asked for. Yes, keep that in mind. Friend, what if the partner doesn't like this knowledge and you can't get along? No matter how hard you try, how do you do it? No, you can. And you should not change your partner until the being does not order. If you see the situation very complicated, earn the merit so that the being tells you whether to continue with that partner or not. But the being is the one who makes the decision. Well, over here it says thank you, good night. Well, Frank, over here it says since the partner has another religious belief and that's why there is no good understanding. It doesn't depend on that. It depends on how one is with that person. That's all. You have to respect each other's ideas. The important thing is that the partner wants to collaborate in sex and that's it. Sex and that's it. And if things get complicated, the being will give you another partner. Ready? But you have to earn the merits. Well, Jose around here says, Luis, the clock. Is the time here on the
If you give me two clocks.
In the astral for half the price. They tell me that time at a premium. Yes. They're giving you a time to do a job in sex because the two is the couple. Very good, and that rewards. Hector Roque Luis, I want a private one too. But I'll confirm it, thank you. So let me know, because I have many blanks and I also have other things to do. I have to balance the schedules. Ready, Lorena says. Luis Carlos today has not explained the image. Please, thank you. Ah, well. If this image, look, the character is looking towards the depth of the universe. Depth of the universe to where he wants to go. And then there is touching with his right hand the heart, which is the wisdom of the Father, which is activated when we begin to awaken the consciousness. Then has the view upwards towards the absolute. Well, over here, Gabby says that they are the blanks, maybe the same lectures that you are giving. Or I have to say what I understood, what you understood about the subject. Then you are focused. What he means is that you give the lecture and you correct mistakes and you focus on reference points to improve the approach or the understanding of the topic, and that's all. That is all. That's the training. Well, ready? We are going to leave this subject until here. Thank you very much for having attended, for having participated. Don't forget, tomorrow there is Phase B at 7:00 p.m., a little after 7:00 p.m. And on Sunday there is the Christmas conference. We are going to talk about the real Christmas, the birth of Christ, the birth of the Lord of the Great Revolution, of the Lord. I did not come to bring peace. I came to bring war, the inner war, the total elimination of the ego, the apocalypse. Keep those words in mind and let us understand, or let us begin to understand what truly is that Christ force. I will say goodbye, and I hope you have. I am ready. That's all. I bid you farewell. Have a pleasant rest of the night. Do not lose your strength. Always ask the being every night for something. And well, all the best. See you if you so decide, or we will interact tomorrow at the Phase B conference.